Hey guys, my name is Blaze, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a DIY giant macaroon. Let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do to make our DIY giant macaroon is we're going to sift 1 cup of powdered sugar. So now that we have sifted all of our powdered sugar, we're now going to add 3/4 of a cup of almond meal or almond flour. So now that we have sifted all of our powdered sugar and almond flour, we are now going to beat some egg whites that are at room temperature until they're nice and fluffy. So now that our egg whites are nice and fluffy like this, we are now going to add our 4 tablespoons of granulated sugar, nice and slow, blending in between. After adding our 4 tablespoons of sugar, you're going to blend it until you get high peaks like this. And then you're going to mix our dry ingredients with our egg whites. So now that we got our egg whites and our dry ingredients, you're going to combine both of them. So now that both of them are combined, you're going to stir this mixture in one direction. It's going to be a little hard to stir it at first, but it's all going to get combined. So you can see it's starting to come together, and that's what you want. And you're just going to stir it in one direction, nice and slowly folding it over. Okay. So now that's mostly combined, just like this. You're then going to add a 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract to the mixture. And then you're going to stir this until all the ingredients are completely combined, and you're going to put it into a piping bag. Now I got my piping bag on my cup. I'm now going to pour all of this mixture into the piping bag. So now that we got all of our batter into our piping bag, we are going to take it off. And if you're going to be making small macaroons, you are going to make small little circles. But since I'm making a giant one, I put parchment paper on a pizza sheet, and I'm going to just be making a big macaroon, the biggest I can get. So let's see how it turns out. Now that I piped our giant macaroon, we are going to lift it up and down just to get all the air bubbles out. Now that we have gotten hopefully all the air bubbles out of our DIY giant macaroon, we are going to set the timer for 20 minutes so it's all settled in a perfect circle. We are going to also set the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. So now that our DIY giant macaroon has been setting for 20 minutes, we are now going to pop it in the oven for 8 minutes. Then we're going to flip it around, put it for another 8 minutes, and then it's done. And since we're going to pop it in, we're going to reduce the heat to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so now that our DIY giant macaroon has fully cooked, we're going to take it out of the oven. Let's see how it looks. Wow. Oh. That looks perfect. So now we're going to let this cool completely, and while this is cooling, I'm going to make an exact replica just like this, so then we can have 2 halves together and it'll be a macaroon. Okay, so our second macaroon is now complete and ready to take out of the oven. Let's see how this one looks. Ooh, this one looks really good. These two together are gonna be perfect. So we are gonna let both of these macarons cool, and while they're cooling, we're gonna make a chocolate ganache, which is what we're gonna fill it with. Okay, so now that our macarons are cooling, we are now gonna be making our chocolate ganache, which is what we're gonna put in the middle of the two macarons. So I'm gonna be using 2 cups of milk chocolate. They're just like candy melts. I'm gonna be using 1 cup of heavy whipping cream and a tablespoon of butter. So we're gonna want these in smaller pieces, so I'm gonna just try to put them in the blender and get them into smaller pieces. So now that our chocolate are in small chunks just like this, we are going to start and boil our cream. You don't want to overboil it, you just want to see the boil start on the edges of the pan. So now that you see it starting to boil on the edges, we're going to turn the heat off and we are going to pour it into our chocolate. So we're going to pour it into here. Okay. And now we are going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. I like all the chocolate coated with the cream. This is a 2-to-1 ratio of chocolate to cream. There's 2 cups of chocolate and 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. So now we're gonna let this set for 5 minutes. Okay, so now that our cream and chocolate have been sitting for 5 minutes, we are now gonna get a whisk and we're gonna start whisking it. First, it's not going to combine, but you'll see it'll start to, cream will start to turn brown, and they'll all start combining. So our ganache should now look like this. I added to the butter once it was the chocolate and the heavy whipping cream was combined, and it should be nice and smooth and it should be shiny just like this. So now we're going to set this into the fridge until it's completely cooled, and then we're going to pipe it onto our giant macaroon. Okay, so our ganache has been cooling for about 2 hours and I think it's ready to be piped. So we got our 2 cooled macaroons and we're going to put our chocolate ganache into our piping bag. Okay, so I got all my ganache into my piping bag. So, holy. Just gonna try to get it all to the bottom. It's all at the top right now. Okay. So I'm gonna start and only pipe one side, and then we'll put the other side on top of the first. So let's start piping. So I got my macaroon. It's all piped with the chocolate ganache. We used all of it. So now I'm gonna flip this macaroon over on top of this one. Hopefully it works. Here we go, guys. Oh. Okay, so here it is. Oops. Okay, we're flipping it over. Right on top of the other. Holy, there we go. That is our DIY giant macaroon. Look at how big it is. It's beautiful. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you later.